Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
Good morning, I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow. Here are the stories we're following today.
Karen, we'll have the latest details on President Donald Trump's state visit to the UK in a moment, but we begin this morning with a major move from Walt Disney. Its ABC network is taking Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air indefinitely. That's after the late-night talk show host's comments about the killing of Republican activist Charlie Kirk. We get the latest on that now with Bloomberg's John Tucker. John.
And in his monologue Monday night, Kimmel accused Republicans of using Charlie Kirk's death to criticize their opponents.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and do everything they can to score political points from it.
That drew an immediate backlash. Nexstar Media Group, which owns dozens of ABC TV affiliates, said it would pull the show indefinitely from its stations over the remarks that were offensive and insensitive. Well, Nexstar has business pending before the FCC, the broadcaster seeking federal approval for a $6.2 billion agreement to acquire another local station owner. It is a treacherous political climate for major media companies, and this is just the latest example of the Trump administration pressuring them to mind their talents on-air remarks. In July, CBS announced it was ending its late-night show hosted by Stephen Colbert, who's been a critic of Trump. At the time, its parent, Paramount Global, was seeking FCC approval for its takeover by Skydance Media. Well, Disney gave no indication of when or if Kimmel's show might return. On social media, President Trump praised the move and said NBC should fire its late-night hosts. In New York, I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, John, thank you. Now we want to get to the latest. President Trump's trip to the UK. His state visit now turns from pomp to tougher diplomatic talks on trade and foreign policy. Let's go to London and get the very latest from Bloomberg Daybreak Europe anchor Caroline Hepker. Good morning, Caroline.
Good morning, Karen. The British government will surely be delighted that the showstopper state banquet was such a hit with President Donald Trump. The King's speech was warm, but true to the man and to British concerns. The monarch pressed the need to safeguard the environment, support Ukraine, and to go even further on the recent UK-US trade deal. The president, for his part, lavished praise on the royal family, the shared history of the two countries. Here is a moment from his speech at St George's Hall in Windsor Castle.
This is truly one of the highest honours of my life. Such respect for you and such respect for your country. For many decades, His Majesty the King has epitomised the fortitude, nobility, and the spirit of the British monarchy and the British people.
The president said the word special doesn't do the relationship between the UK and US justice. Does that mean any concessions on security and trade for the Prime Minister Keir Starmer at Chequers today? The government's guiding expectations low and focused on pulling off a perilous joint press conference.
What are we expecting today at Chequers, Caroline?
Well, do the differences between the UK government and the US administration stay behind closed doors or emerge? The UK's got a different view on Israel, wants support in terms of Ukraine, says that the UK's free speech is as robust and not in doubt as ever before. So will the press conference see pointed questions for President Trump in connection to Jeffrey Epstein? The UK's also still got to appoint a new ambassador to Washington. For the moment, Starmer is pointing to this record £150 billion of investment from big US tech firms into the UK, that it will deliver 7,600 jobs here. Protests against Trump in Britain have been fairly muted. Now we await President Trump in his more familiar setting, taking questions in just a matter of hours. Is it fair to say the UK's holding its breath?
Is it? Well, we'll be watching, won't we? Bloomberg Daybreak Europe anchor Caroline Hepker, thank you. Of course, we'll be checking in with you throughout the morning.
And Karen, while the president is in the UK, he appears to have domestic politics in mind. He posted on Truth Social last night that he plans to designate Antifa a major terrorist organization. The president also says he will strongly recommend thorough investigations of groups that fund the organization. The White House has promised to investigate what it calls left-wing extremism in the wake of Charlie Kirk's shooting death. Antifa is a loose collective of far-left militant groups. Authorities have not linked Kirk's killing directly to any political organization.
Well, on Capitol Hill, Nathan, the House has killed a resolution to censure Congresswoman Ilhan Omar over her comments about the conservative activist. The Democrat from Minnesota told a liberal podcaster that Republicans praising Kirk for civil debate were full of it. Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace proposed the resolution that would have stripped Omar of her committee assignments. 4 Republicans joined Democrats in blocking it.
Turning to Wall Street now, Karen, futures are pointed higher a day after the Federal Reserve slashed interest rates for the first time this year. The quarter-point reduction came after a significant slowdown in job growth and an unprecedented push by the White House for much lower rates. Here's Fed Chair Jay Powell.
You could think of this in a way as a risk management cut, because if you look at the SEP, actually the projections for growth this year and next actually ticked up just a little bit. And inflation and unemployment didn't really move much. So what's different now? What's different now is that you see a very different picture of the risks to the labor market.
The decision from Jay Powell and company to cut rates a quarter point was nearly unanimous. The lone dissent came from Fed Governor Stephen Miron, who favored a larger reduction.
Well, Nathan, as markets hover near record highs, investors will get a key earnings report to digest. Package delivery company FedEx reports after the closing bell, and we get a preview with Bloomberg's Tom Busby.
Despite some successful cost-cutting, FedEx saw continued weakness in parcel shipping demand, and once again, it's not likely to reinstate a full-year outlook. The main driver for that, the cancellation of the de minimis exemption for lower-price shipments out of China, Hong Kong, and other countries into the U.S., which went into effect at the end of last month. Still, Bloomberg consensus calls for revenue of $21.68 billion on adjusted earnings per share of $3.61. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
Okay, Tom, thanks. In other company news, Meta Platforms wants to turn its smart glasses into a must-have product. It's coming out now with a new model with a built-in screen. The social media giant is rebranding the product AI glasses with a price tag of $799. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg says he's bringing super intelligence to consumer electronics.
This is going to be the most important technology in our lifetimes. AI should serve people, not just be something that sits in a data center automating large parts of society. So we design our glasses to be able to empower people with new capabilities as soon as they become possible.
Mark Zuckerberg spoke at Meta's annual event to showcase new technology. The company hopes the new glasses will be a stepping stone to full augmented reality glasses.
Time now for a look at some of the other stories making news in New York and around the world. And for that, we're joined by Bloomberg's Monica Ricks. Monica, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Karen. Democrats say Republicans are not communicating right now with just weeks to go to avert a government shutdown. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
We have 2 weeks. They should sit down and talk to us, and we maybe can get a good proposal. Let's see. But when they don't talk to us, there's no hope of getting a good proposal. And that makes no sense.
Democrats released their version of a budget last night. Members of the House Judiciary Committee grilled FBI Director Kash Patel for about 5 hours yesterday about increasing political violence as well as his handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Florida Republican Byron Donalds called out Democrats.
They had full access to the Epstein files under the Biden administration. They could have released all the information then. They chose not to.
He says they're just trying to win midterm votes. Investigators have released more details now about the arrest of Tyler Robinson, who's accused of killing Charlie Kirk last week in Utah. Washington County Sheriff Nate Brooksby says Robinson wanted to surrender.
He was fearful of a SWAT team hit on his house, or he was fearful of being shot by law enforcement.
Robinson's now facing felony murder charges. Israel's military is now pushing ahead with its offensive in Gaza City despite massive protests in Jerusalem. Idit Hoel's son is still being held hostage by Hamas.
I'm very worried about the war and the military pressure on Hamas, because my son is in there.
More than 400,000 civilians in Gaza have already been evacuated. And Starbucks workers taking legal action now here at home in 3 states over the coffee giant's dress code. This took effect back in May, but employees claim that Starbucks refuses to reimburse them for having to buy new clothes. Global news 24 hours a day and whenever you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Monica Ricks, and this is Bloomberg. Karen, Nathan?
Thanks, Monica. Time now for our Bloomberg Sports Update. And for that, we bring in John Stashower.
Thanks, Karen. The latest team to clinch a postseason berth, the Cubs. They'll be at least a wild card of the National League. They'll be their first postseason since 2020. Seattle lost at Kansas City 7-5 to end the Mariners' 10-game winning streak. And when Houston beat Texas 5-2, the Astros moved back into first place by a half game. The NFL game tonight is Miami in Buffalo, where the Dolphins have lost 15 of the last 17. The 49ers say quarterback Brock Purdy may play Sunday. He missed last week with injuries to his toe and shoulder. That's your Bloomberg Sports Update.
Stay with us. More from Bloomberg Daybreak coming up after this.
Coast to coast on Bloomberg Radio, nationwide on Sirius XM, and around the world on Bloomberg.com and the Bloomberg Business app. This is Bloomberg Daybreak.
Good morning. I'm Nathan Hager. President Donald Trump and King Charles III highlighted the unique bond between the U.S. and the United Kingdom during a lavish dinner at Windsor Castle last night. As the president's second state visit to the U.K. continues, the king is suggesting that bond could be pointed at global challenges.
As tyranny once again threatens Europe, we and our allies stand together in support of Ukraine to deter aggression and secure peace.
King Charles speaking at the state dinner for President Trump last night. This morning, we are joined back at Windsor Castle by Bloomberg's Lizzie Burden. Some very interesting comments there from His Majesty. Lizzie, what kind of influence is the king trying to have over this state visit as the focus turns from the pomp to the politics today? Good morning.
Yeah, you heard the king there emphasizing, Nathan, the need to defend both Ukraine and also the environment. He said, we are kin. He noted that British soil makes for nice golf courses, so turning on the charm, and the president nodding along the whole way, even if these comments hit on the fault lines between the US and the UK right now, and even if it's a meal that's really designed to curry favor with the president. It's notable because the monarch is traditionally restrained, but King Charles, as we know, is different to his mother, the late Queen Elizabeth II. He is more confident in speaking his own mind, stepping into politics. But around the table, it wasn't just the royals and the president and first lady. You also had some of the biggest names of Silicon Valley and Wall Street, the likes of Apple's Tim Cook, notably back in the fold, Citigroup's Jane Fraser. Notably absent, though, was a UK ambassador to Washington. Peter Mandelson, of course, forced to depart over his links to Jeffrey Epstein. That could be an awkward subject for the press conference later today.
And as we get set for that press conference, what are we expecting now with the president set to go from Windsor over to Prime Minister Starmer's country estate at Chequers?
Yeah, the focus turning from pageantry to business and politics. In terms of business, Starmer's team saying that a record £150 billion, that's about $205 billion, I think, of investment into the UK is going to be unveiled across the whole visit. So the lion's share of that coming from Blackstone. It'll create 7,600 jobs here at a time when Britain really needs the economic growth. And it isn't just a one-way street. The UK also investing in the US, £22 billion from GSK into US pharma, also commitments from the likes of BP and Sage. But when it comes to politics, Starmer looking to press Trump on both trade, to improve the trade deal, and Ukraine. We're not expecting any major breakthroughs, Nathan, but what he isn't likely to raise is the Middle East. The Times of London reporting overnight that Starmer is going to formally recognise Palestine as a state this weekend, so after Trump's gone, but it'll come ahead of that UN General Assembly meeting in New York next week. And clearly, the idea is to try and avoid a diplomatic incident. But again, it could dominate that press conference later on today.
Only 30 seconds left, Lizzie. So are we expecting any concessions when it comes to trade from the president?
Well, it looks like Starmer has already given up on many of the things that he would like to have negotiated this time. Steel tariffs, for example, he's accepting at 25% for now. It doesn't look like there'll be concessions when it comes to tariffs on Scotch whiskey. So we've yet to see what the president was referring to when he said that there's room to negotiate when he was speaking to reporters before he boarded Air Force One.
This is Bloomberg Daybreak, your morning podcast on the stories making news from Wall Street to Washington and beyond.
Look for us on your podcast feed by 6 a.m. Eastern each morning on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you listen.
You can also listen live each morning starting at 5 a.m. Wall Street time on Bloomberg 1130 in New York, Bloomberg 99.1 in Washington, Bloomberg 92.9 in Boston, and nationwide on Sirius XM Channel 121.
Plus, listen coast to coast on the Bloomberg Business app, now with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto interfaces.
And don't forget to subscribe to Bloomberg News Now. It's the latest news whenever you want it, in 5 minutes or less. Search Bloomberg News Now on your favorite podcast platform to stay informed all day long. I'm Karen Moscow.
And I'm Nathan Hager. Join us again tomorrow morning for all the news you need to start your day right here on Bloomberg Daybreak.